So Nina Turner, she was on Krystal, Kyle and Friends, and they were talking about the election coming up. Nina Turner's race is just 2 weeks away. Of course, you guys already know, we've talked about this as well, how the Progressive Caucus has decided to back Shontel Brown, of course, Pramila Jayapal as well. And they're talking to Nina Turner about the hope, I think, that may or may not be left in reference to the party and in reference to her race. Before I play this video, there's something I want to say. I want you to look at this from the perspective of the party as a whole and not the individual. Basically, what I'm saying is that for me, this is not about Nina Turner. This is not about the individual. My issue is the Democratic Party. It's the system that is in place. That's what I want you to focus on as we go into this video clip, because there's been a lot of chitter chatter, especially today. I don't know if you guys been on Twitter or what, but the whole thing that happened, the conversation between, JB and Jordan Sheraton from Status Quo, RB, and we did a stream. Well, I wasn't on it, but we did a stream earlier today about that. There seems to be this misconception that we're attacking Nina Turner, or we just don't like Nina Turner, or we're throwing her away. For me, this was never about Nina Turner as an individual. For me, it's about the strategy that is being used, which we've used for the last couple of years. And it's about going into the Democratic Party. Even if she was going into the Republican Party, I would still have the same criticism. It's about going into the two-party system and what is happening to the progressives that have gone in. Again, leave the personality part out of it. I am focusing on the strategy, the duopoly, and the money. And that's the thing I'm not hearing people talk about. And I mentioned this last night. Everybody is coming out saying, oh, this is a nihilistic view. By the way, a lot of people are using that word recently. If you've been paying attention, a lot of people are talking about it's nihilist. I think that's the word this year or something. And you're going to hear Kyle Kulinsky say that as well on this clip I'm about to play. And I think it is unfair to say that we have a nihilistic view when you're leaving out the fact that we actually think we should be using a different strategy, that there is another alternative to actually help people faster and help people right now. They're leaving that out. So people can call it whatever they want, nihilistic, they can call it defeat, whatever, yada, yada, do whatever you please. But I want you again to understand, this is not that we don't like Nina Turner. I don't have an issue with Nina Turner as a person. It is the strategy that's being used that has failed over the past couple of years, and no one's life is improving. That is the problem. So let's go into this clip. Here we go.
And so, yeah, what Christian Small is doing, there are Starbucks right here in my city, whether it's Clifton Avenue or West 6th Street or the one in Maple Heights, or excuse me, not Maple Heights, Mayfield Road in Cleveland Heights, just all of the various Starbucks right here in the greater Cleveland area. All of those wins and attempts to give people so much courage. What happened in Staten Island probably is owed to what they were able to do in Bessemer, Alabama. Even though they didn't come with the brass ring, it was just one more step in the right direction and one more move to motivate people to keep on fighting. So it's the combination of all of these things that I believe that
And I want to chime in here for just a second. She's right when she talks about the labor movements, Amazon, Starbucks, them really yeah, let's form these unions. Let's do the damn thing. It's delivering real results. The people are actually getting something. The problem with the strategy of putting progressives through the Democratic Party We're not getting anything. They're not passing any bills. What have they done for us? That's the thing. We're not getting anything. Nothing has changed. Nothing has improved. If you can't pass these bills, the people get nothing. So the reason why people are very excited and enthused about the labor movements with Amazon and Starbucks is because not only are they winning, but when they win to form those unions, the people are actually getting something. We're not getting anything through the progressive movement. That's the problem. What have they done? Did they cancel student loan? We still got student loan debt. Do we have health care for everybody? No. Do we have paid family leave? No. We have nothing. That's the problem. They're not doing anything. All I've seen them do is pass legislation or vote for legislation that the Democratic establishment want. That they're going along with them. So this is the problem. Multiple times they could have used their leverage. There was none. I sat right there and I watched them vote in such a way so that Capitol Police bill would go through. They could have changed that. They could have changed that. If they would have voted against that, that funding wouldn't have been approved. You see what I'm saying? So again, they're not doing anything. If you were a supervisor and you had all these employees not doing their job, you'd probably talk to them a couple of times, give them a review. But after a while, if they're still not doing it, you let them go. So what are we holding on to? Let's go back in.
Progressive movement should look at as we critique and judge ourselves and not get caught up in what the mainstream media has to say about this movement, because the overwhelming majority of the American people are right where this movement is. They might not, Krystal, and they might not, Kyle, call themselves progressives. If we take the label off and you just talk to people about, is your health care enough? Is it serving you? Are you making enough money on your job? Would you like to see things change in this?
But then that also means talking to people who are not on the left. See, this is the part where a lot of these commentators, they smear us over at RBN. They smear us when we did the marches for Medicare for All, because there were also people who were conservative that were in those marches. They need health care too. But you just heard Nina Turner tell you right there, maybe not just focus on the labels. Don't just focus on the labels, progressive or leftist. Even people who are not progressive and leftist also need these things that we're fighting for. You just heard Nina Turner just told you that. You gonna call her Red Brown Alliance too? You see what I mean? Let's go back in.
Society that gives you more than a fighting chance to live out your greatest greatness. Most people, no matter how they identify politically, are going to say, yeah, I would like to see more done. That unionist movement is an example of that. You got people who were probably Bernie-crats, Clintonites, Trumpites, Green Party, no party, all uniting based on what they had in common and what they had.
Right. This is what we've been saying. Now, Krystal and Kyle, they can listen to this because it's coming from Nina Turner. But when we say it, we're smeared. You guys see what I'm saying? This is why I tell you this is a game. This is a game.
Had in common was a drive and a determination to say we deserve more, we deserve better. We're going to put our political ideology on the side and fight like hell to get that better. And that's benefits, that's wages, and that's work conditions. This is the roadmap that the progressive movement needs to use so that we keep on fighting. We cannot get weary in well-doing.
Well, I think you're...
Where's Hassan Piker now when he smeared us when we were talking about the marches for Medicare for All? Where are all those people? Nina Turner just said the same thing that we've been saying for over a year. And a lot of these commentators with these large platforms came after us and they smeared us, including Mr. Ryan Grimm, by the way. Now Nina Turner's saying it. You guys gonna smear her too? Let's go back in. Oh, this is revealing. Here we go.
point about Bessemer leading to Staten Island is actually really important. And we know that Chris Smalls and Derek Palmer and their team went down to Bessemer to see what they could learn from that fight. They didn't watch the defeat of that. And by the way, Amazon cheated and there was a redo, and the results of that are still ongoing. So they may have actually pulled it off the second time around. There's still some hope there. But they didn't look at that initial defeat and say, unionization, it just doesn't work. Forget about it. Instead, they said, okay, what did they do that didn't land, that didn't work, that we think we can improve upon for our own movement and for our own union drive on Staten Island? And
Krystal's being disingenuous here. What she's trying to do, see, here comes the guilt trip. What Krystal's trying to do, she's trying to make the same connection to what happened with the Amazon union to electoral politics with this strategy of putting progressives through the Democratic Party. She's trying to tell you now, oh, well, Amazon didn't give up after they went down there in Alabama and they just kept fighting. This is true. Here's the difference. That was not done through electoral politics. You get what I'm saying? That was done by the people, among the people, with the people, not electoral politics. This is why I'm telling people some of these things that you want to get done, we could probably get them done through a different strategy. For example, I just told you what we should do before the midterms. We need to have a massive march on DC, on the Washington Mall, with a list of demands to put pressure on the Biden administration. That is not going to be done through electoral. Do you see what I'm saying? She's trying to compare the two. So we should not give up on the progressive movement and putting progressives through this Democratic Party, you guys, because look what would have happened if Chris Smalls and them gave up with Amazon. No, they're not the same thing. One is electoral politics. The other one is direct action and organizing. And what have we been telling you over at RBN? We have been doing 80% electoral politics, 20% direct action mutual aid. We told you we need to flip it. We need to do 80% direct action mutual aid and 20% electoral politics. That's what we should be doing. We can do so much more helping people in this country through mutual aid. I'm going to give you some examples here in just a second. Let me get back into this, but don't be fooled by this. I can't believe Krystal is really trying to do this. Oh my God.
so they took those learnings and they pushed the ball forward. And now you have a spark that, again, has ignited across the country. With the latest that he said is they've had 100 Amazon buildings across the nation reach out to them about organizing. I mean, that is the revolution, and these things build on each other, because I would submit if we had had that type of strength in the labor movement when Senator Sanders was running in 16 and in 20, I think we would have had a very different result ultimately. So Senator Sanders helps to spark, resurgence in the labor movement, interest in.
And what's missing from this, Krystal? What's missing from this puzzle? Yes, Bernie Sanders really did help put the message on the table. Yes, he started a movement in this country. Where is Bernie Sanders now? Bernie Sanders left his movement. You're asking people to still trust and believe in something that has no damn leader. If I'm a part of a movement and hell, I see the leader walk away, why the hell would I still hope for the movement? There's nobody leading this. There's no one driving this bus. You get what I'm saying? Maybe she should have this discussion with Bernie Sanders instead of pointing fingers at those of us who don't want to do this strategy any fucking more. How about that? Bernie Sanders came on Krystal, Kyle, and Friends. She had a one-on-one discussion with him. Did you ask him why he left his movement, Krystal? Where is Bernie Sanders now? So instead of pointing fingers at us and talking about we are the ones that are the problem, again, you're blaming the voters. You know who else was doing that? The same people that said if you don't vote for Joe Biden, we might end up with Trump. Mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC did the same damn thing. So no, You go pick up the phone and call your friend Bernie, since you know him like that, and ask him why he left his damn movement with no leader. Go ask that.
And especially awareness among young people, that helps to build a movement. That movement will help support the next candidate who has labor's interests and the interests of working class people truly at heart.
Well, as they say in the Black church, when the preacher gives a good sermon, Krystal, amen.
That wasn't no good sermon.
I mean, amidst all the nihilism, the point that both you guys just brought to.
Did you hear Kyle just use that word nihilism? I told you that's going around. I sat up there, I listened to Jordan Sheraton use it on Status Quo. Steve Grumbine used it. Kyle has used it multiple times. This word is going around. You guys notice this? They're all using this word nihilism. They are leaving out the part that there are other strategies that we can use. They're making it seem like we're just throwing everything away and say we give up, which is a damn lie. And they know that. The problem is they don't want to do these other strategies because it's not good for their brand. That's what this is really about. Let's talk about that. You have an audience with hundreds of thousands of people. Why aren't you telling your audience members, instead of donating to these politicians, why don't you tell them to donate to mutual aid? Why don't you help organize that massive audience that you have to lead some kind of march on Washington? Why aren't you doing that? You know why? Because they don't want to do it. At the end of the day, we are watching two wealthy people basically try to shame people for not wanting to do this strategy anymore. And I want to remind you, a lot of the issues that we're fighting for, Krystal and Kyle don't need these tangibles. They have health care. They're rich. You get it? This is where the class issue comes in. People say we're being nihilist. No, this is a class divide. Some people need these things right now. We don't have time to put someone else into office and hope that they do the right damn thing in a party that is owned by Wall Street. And I don't hear them talking about how we're getting the money out either. What happened to that? Remember a couple years ago? A lot of people were talking about that. We got to get the money out of politics. Don't hear them talking about that much anymore. This is ridiculous. They are comfortable. If Nina Turner loses, Krystal and Kyle are still going to be okay. You get what I'm saying? These people are millionaires. They'll be fine. Even if Nina Turner doesn't win, Nina Turner will still be fine. My friend JB, who I watched cry on a live stream right before I went live because of the conditions that he's having to go through, because he is living in poverty. He will not be okay. You get what I'm saying? They are fine.
My mind now, which I never thought of before, is that it actually doesn't take much to get people going again. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's unexpected as to where it comes from.
That's right.
But yeah, whenever you start, notching little victories here and there, it's like victories beget more victories. And then next thing you know, you're off to the races. So, I mean, look,
They are deeply out of touch. Kyle just told you it doesn't take much to get people going again. Maybe the people in your circle, Kyle. Do you even know poor people? Do you talk to people who are working class? You think Krystal and Kyle Kulinsky grew up working class? Fuck no. They don't know what it's like to be poor. I do. I know what it's like not to know where I was going to sleep at night. I know what it's like to sleep on a friend's couch because I didn't have a place to live. I know what that's like. They don't fucking know what that's like. I know what it's like to have to pay full price for medical expenses, because I didn't have health insurance at one point. So people who want to point fingers to me and say, oh, Sabby lives in a house. Sabby didn't always have a house. Sabby didn't always have an apartment. It doesn't take much to get people moving again. They are out of touch. They're not talking to everyday people. These are the people in their DC bubble, their DC circle. I'm talking about working class people. The majority of Americans do not vote. Who the fuck are you trying to move? You're trying to get people to be passionate again about a movement that the leader left. Bernie Sanders isn't even passionate about his own damn movement anymore. So you're trying to get that to happen, and you're ignoring the fact that people are in worse economic situations now than they were when Bernie ran before. We have this pandemic, people are unemployed, more people are unhoused, and you're telling people to donate their money to these politicians and do this same damn strategy for them to go into a party that is owned by Wall Street. And I'm going to show you a clip to remind you why this does not work. It's not about the individuals. Some of those candidates have been on this show. It's not about the people, God damn it. It's about the system that they're going into. It's about the corruption. It's about the money. And Krystal and Kyle damn well know that shit. That's what pisses me off. I'm going to go back into the video.
Sympathetic on the one hand to those who have almost conceded to the nihilism, because I get where that urge comes from, and everybody on their worst days feels like that.
Oh, yeah.
But then on the other hand, you know, and I know I make this corny analogy all the time and people want me to shut up making it, but it
No, he doesn't understand. I sort of understand some of the people that have conceded to the nihilism and da da da. You see how they're using this word? Not once in this discussion do they mention the alternative. Not once do they mention what else we could be doing, because they don't want to do it. This is how they make their money, putting progressives through the Democratic Party. That is their brand. That's what that's about. I don't see them trying to get out in the streets. They want to talk about people need to organize. What the fuck are you talking about? Rome travels across this country doing a tour for the poor, feeding and clothing homeless people. I didn't see Crystal Ball cover that shit. Did you? No, they don't talk about it because it doesn't fit their brand. Because if they talk about it, the first thing their audience would ask, why aren't you doing that? Why aren't you getting out there helping? Why aren't you going out there in the streets with all the resources that you have and trying to start a mutual aid organization? Why didn't you tell us about this? Instead of giving $100 million to Bernie Sanders, do you know what that money could have done to help people with mutual aid in this country? That's what this is about. So he says he sort of understands. He doesn't understand. Kyle Kulinsky's not poor, hasn't been poor. He doesn't fucking get it. Period. Let's go back in.
It actually matters to me. I think of like Michael Jordan playing a game with the flu, you know, and that was like one of his most legendary performances. Tiger Woods winning the U.S. Open on a broken leg. The greats push through despite the odds. And in fact, they almost look at everything being biased against them as yet another good reason to shine and try even harder. And so
Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods are outliers. Let's be clear here. Let's be clear here. That's very different from what is happening here. People didn't have to put their faith and energy into Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods to get tangibles for their life. That was solely for Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods, their career. Other people, we weren't counting on them. Do you see what I'm saying? We weren't counting on them to implement policies to help improve our lives.
So that I feel like that energy needs to be something fully embraced by the left, as opposed to defeatism and nihilism. You stare in the eyes, you know, whatever the mountain is that you're trying to climb, and you're like, mountains don't have eyes. But you stare at them and you're like, I'm going to do this. Like, we're going to do this, and we're not going to stop at anything until we actually win.
Did you hear that? We're not going to stop at anything until we actually win. Guys, they're going to keep this going. This is what I was trying to tell you. They are comfortable. They can afford to do that. None of these people are poor. They don't fucking understand. They don't get it.
That's it, Kyle. And that's one of the reasons why I am running again. That is exactly it. And you know what, the forces against what we're trying to do, they want people to lose hope.
Yep.
They want people to get so discouraged and frustrated that they throw up their hands and say, I'm not going to try anymore.
No, that's not what we want to happen. What we want people to do is to use a different strategy. Since Krystal and Kyle care so much about this conversation and want to call us defeatists and nihilists, I don't see Krystal and Kyle trying to have this conversation with us. They're bringing on Nina Turner to get her to speak about what she thinks, how we feel. None of them freaking know. If they're really interested in this and they really want to know, why aren't they trying to have that discussion? I think we all know why. I think we know the real reason why. This is ridiculous. This is not defeatism. This is not nihilism. It's called common sense, and I am being realistic and real with you. And they're pretending like the money is not the root cause, and the money is the root cause. It is a direct problem, and they're ignoring that. Kyle Kulinsky and Krystal Ball are going to continue this drift of putting these progressives through the Democratic Party because that's what makes them money. And for people who want to try to call me a grifter, I want to remind you I have a full-time job. This is not my full job. This is their full-time job. So if this is a grift, it's a really bad one. Again, this is a class issue.
That is what they want. And we cannot give them what they want because they understand what we need to understand even on our worst day, that when conscious-minded people from all walks of life unite, baby, there is no force on this earth more powerful than that. And so we must keep pushing through our anger, through our disappointment, through resentment. And even if we're right about some of these things, which we are right about most of the things, in the case of trying to fight for what is just right and good, we still must keep going. Because to stop means nothing will ever change. And the status quo, corporatist types in this country who do not believe that everyday ordinary people deserve to live a good life, they revel in the fact they want this movement to feel defeated.
There is no movement. There is no movement. I'm just being honest with you. None of us sitting back want to lose. I want to be very clear about that. I donated to Bernie Sanders, AOC, Ayanna Pressley. I donated a lot of money to Bernie Sanders. It's not about defeatism. It's not about wanting you guys to lose. It is based on what we have seen over the past couple of years. It is based on how corrupt the party is, the money. And it's not just the status quo Democrats. You got the progressive Democrats going against some of these things now. They're taking up establishment Dem talking points. What? So when people get mad when we say things like, yeah, the squad sold out, has anybody from the squad endorsed Nina Turner? No. Pay close attention. That is not what the Democratic Party wants. They are doing what the party wants. Do you see how this works? This is why putting them in to the party and trying to overtake the party. This is why it doesn't work. Because at the end of the day, Wall Street controls the party and the politicians answer to their corporate donors. I'm going to give you 2 examples of why this does not work. One more recently. Let me play this really quick.
And to stop. And that's why we can't let it stop. And that's why they come after candidates like me so hard. That's why they came after India Walton so hard. That's why they came after Senator Bernie Sanders so hard, because
India Walton announced on Twitter that she's leaving the Democratic Party. I see that wasn't mentioned.
Us and so many others that I've not named right now, we shine hope. And when as the human spirit, as long as we got hope, baby, we keep on going.
I want to use the example of the police state. The Democratic Party is giving more money to the police. That came straight from Joe Biden's mouth. You have a progressive that went into Democratic Party in the House who has been very vocal about defund the police. Cori Bush still stands by defunding the police. What's the problem with that? The problem is the Democratic Party does not support defund the police. They are now silencing Cori Bush on that issue. This is why I tell you it's not the people so much that are going in, it's the party. The party decides what direction the party is going to go in, whether you're progressive, whether you're libertarian, whether you're establishment Democrat or not. So even though Cori Bush supports defunding the police, it doesn't matter because the party has already said we're not going in that direction. So if there were some type of bill or legislation that came through, Cori Bush would be the only one right now on record that would support defunding the police. And who knows? They would probably pressure her to not do that to go along with what the party wants. For me, this is not about Nina Turner. This is not about individual people going into the party. The problem is the Democratic Party. Now, I got a couple of questions. The Democratic Party has increased funding to the police state. I think a lot of you who watch me know I do not support the police state. So why in the hell should I back a party that has increased funding to the police state? Why should I back a party that's increased funding to the police state? And every other day I'm seeing videos on mainstream media of police just gunning down Black people. You answer that, Kyle. Why should I support that party? And people say it's about the individual candidates. The individual candidates is going into the Democratic Party. I do not support the police state. Period. I don't back that shit. So no, I am not supporting people going into the Democratic Party or the Republican Party because I don't support funding the police. I don't support imperialism. I do not support war. And both parties support all of those things. So no, I am not doing that. Krystal and Kyle, they don't have to worry about that. Kyle Kulinsky doesn't have to be worried about getting stopped by the police and being able to drive that home with his life. So no, Krystal Ball doesn't have to worry about that. Nina Turner's husband is a cop. You guys see the problem? They're out of touch. They don't get it. They just want to smear people and call people nihilists. They're going to call us names now instead of trying to understand the class divide here. And they're not going to have that conversation with us about it. What are they going to say? No, I don't support that. Now I'm going to show you, Eric, let's go to the next one. the video with Nancy Pelosi. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Listen to this. This is what I'm talking about. The party decides which direction they go in. Listen to this. I want to remind you of something Nancy Pelosi said a couple of months ago. Listen to this about defund the police.
For mayor of Los Angeles is trying to increase the police force in LA. Cori Bush, Congresswoman from Missouri, is saying it's time to defund the police. He's sticking by that. You're the speaker. How do you think Democrats should address rising crime?
Well, with all the respect in the world for Cori Bush, that is not the position of the Democratic Party. Community safety.
Did you hear what she said? With all the respect in the world for Cori Bush, that is not the position of the Democratic Party. You know what else is not the position of the Democratic Party? Medicare for all. So how are we going to get Medicare for all for everybody? You see why this does not work? This next one may be tough to watch. I want you to hear from a friend of mine about the class issue. I want you guys to listen to something that JB said today. This is the class divide. Listen to this.
To give some pushback. And I'm gonna give pushback in a kind and friendly manner because I respect what he does and I respect him as a person. But here's my thing. I'm poor. I'm tired. It's always just hang on. We just gotta elect more progressives. Just hang on. Just hold on. Brother, we're dying by the day, brother. We're dying. Yo, my bank account's in the red right now by hundreds of dollars. And I'm on disability, bro. You mean to tell me to just hang on? Like what? I literally had to ask people for money so I can get to them from dialysis last week. People had to send me mutual aid. Thankfully, I have for about a good month and a half for me to get to them from dialysis now. But beyond that, I ain't got nothing. I can't afford to wait, bro. I can't. We can't. I literally have a sibling that's sleeping on my couch. Sleeping on my couch. What do you expect me to do, man? We got people out here making minimum wage, unable to afford to live. And you got a party that sits there, and you have a president that talks about, I don't have sympathy. No, you don't have sympathy? I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but whatever. The entire Democratic Party is shit. The entire Democratic Party. This is why I left 2 years ago. And people are like, oh, well, they're fighting for. No, they're not. They're not. If they truly were fighting, they would have called for a general strike. They would have used their millions of followers to call out the president. They would have used their millions of followers to call out the Speaker of the House. They would have called them out called out Chuck Schumer. They would have called these people out. They would have forced a vote. They would have did everything in their power to truly fight for it. And yet they didn't. They won't.
I have one more for you. If I can get it up right now. Oh, that did not sound right. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to say those words, you guys. I just thought about what I just said, and that was not good. I'm sorry. Look, we need a little bit of humor, right? Listen to this. Listen to this. I watched JB cry today. I've never seen JB cry. Listen to this.
And I'm look, I'm not comfortable. Look, and look, let's be real. Let's put everything out there because people are gonna call me a grifter, right? Did I say last week live that I didn't have enough money to get to and from dialysis, and so I needed $2.50 to help me get to and from dialysis home last Friday, on Thursday during the RBN? Yes, I did. And did people help me out with mutual aid? Yes, they did. So much so that it helps me out with a month and a half of getting to and from dialysis, which I am deeply grateful. But why am I in that position in the first place? Let's ask that question. Why am I in the position in the first place? Why do I have a GoFundMe on my pinned profile in my Twitter just so that I can survive? Why do I have that?
And I'll interject just one thing, JB, is having that also puts us at risk.
Yes. And the
So
thing is that
yeah.
people are looking at me and looking at RBN, calling us grifters because we're actually poor people. People like me are suffering, and and it's like, oh, you're just like everybody else. It's like, no. I am not. What is the difference? I'm literally in a burning house. And so for people to sit here and to try to make it seem like I'm just being nihilistic, if me screaming and crying in a burning house is nihilistic, then damn it, I'm nihilistic as fuck. Because I am sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of looking at a party that says all the right things, they speak all the right things, but when it comes to actually doing it, they don't do it. And look, let me tell you, I was a Nina stan back in the day. But the thing is you can talk a good game. You can talk a good game, but your actions speak louder than your words. What you're doing on the ground, even before you get elected, speaks loud to me. And so this is one of the reasons why I'm just tired, man. And I live in the hood. Ask Rome. Rome was down here with me. I'm tired, man.
Yeah,
I'm
JB.
tired.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to get emotional and crying right now, but this is real shit. I literally have a sibling that's homeless right now, that's sleeping on my couch. I have a sister-in-law that is taking care of 3 kids that are teenagers. One's trying to go to college. My other sister-in-law has student debt up to her eyeballs. My mother is 70 years old, man. And she's trying to get a job because we can't afford to live, man. And people want to talk about that we're grifters and that we're just nihilistic because we are talking about suffering. Like, nah, man. This is real. There's not that much difference between me and the poor people who are living on the street that we were feeding out there during Tour for the Poor. It's no different. And it's just like people just don't get it. You got people who have Patreons with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then they sit there and they want to talk about, oh, we're just dividing the left. No, we're literally showing you what's really going on because we're suffering out here, man. And it's like you guys don't even fucking care. And that's why I'm tired, man. I've been on dialysis for 15 years. Don't tell me about suffering until you've been in my shoes. And then you know what the worst part is? There are people that are suffering way worse than I am. Tell them to wait. Tell them just to vote for more progressives. Tell them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
I hate to see people just suffer. I don't even want to say struggle. I hate, like, people are just suffering. People are dying. And if we want to talk about healthcare, I agree with Medicare for all. Obviously, I think everyone should have healthcare in this country. But if we want to talk how we can help people right now, mutual aid. Every other day, I see GoFundMe's on social media for people that need help for medical expenses. I see GoFundMe's for people to get surgeries. If you have a massive audience, why aren't you telling your audience members to donate money to mutual aid to help these people? That can help people right now, not next election cycle. People need help. People don't have jobs. People are evicted. People are really going through tough times. People need help now. That's the problem. JB is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. One of the sweetest people. And despite everything that he has to go through, JB gets on his stream with a smile. That was the first time I saw JB cry. And that shit really hit me, because sometimes people smile through the pain, you know? Sometimes you never know what people going through financially, their struggles. Like, JB has to go to dialysis like 3 times a week. That's tough. And he can't drive to get there. He has to get on a shuttle. They take him to get his dialysis. And for people to say we're just doing this to grift, we don't really make money. You can see how much we make. If you go on my Patreon page, the amount that I get is public. I have a full-time job. That's what I tell people. I have a full-time job. So we're grifting. We're not very good at it. I don't have a reason to lie to you. I really don't. I may not be poor now, but I told you my story. I was poor for 5 years. And if you've never had to struggle, if you've never been poor, you don't understand. You don't know what it's like. It's fucking hard to be poor. And no one that we've put in office has solved the poverty issue. No one. Not on the left or the right. I'm constantly seeing people suffer. It sucks. And I'm sorry. But if you can tell your audience to donate to politicians, you can tell your audience to donate to mutual aid and help people right now. Rome will be here Monday in Boston for Tour for the Poor. We'll be helping homeless people on the ground in Monday for the people who say we don't organize, by the way. All these people telling us, if you guys need to get out there and organize, pretending like we don't. And some of those people know about Rome's Tour for the Poor. He travels across the country. Rome was delivering food and diapers and clothes to people on Skid Row. What were you doing? All of us participated in the marches for Medicare for All. Krystal Ball wants to talk about organizing. You didn't even mention it on Breaking Points. Some of you don't mention these things unless it's cool enough for your social circles. Let's be real. For people who do not know, that may be new to us, we were not podcasters first. A lot of us, activists, organizers, Nick and Rome canvassed for Bernie Sanders. All of us were Bernie supporters. So let's stop pretending like this is just coming out of nowhere. It's not coming out of nowhere. We believed in this strategy once too. But people are tired of struggling. We are tired. If this doesn't work out, if Nina Turner doesn't win, Krystal and Kyle will be fine. They are comfortable. That's the difference. JB's situation won't be fine though. C. Larson said, JB Font, you're amazingly strong, hoping some good fortune comes at you. Me too. Like, it pains me to see someone like JB have to go through this. It's hurtful. It's hurtful. Like, it make me feel some kind of way. We got to do something different. We got to do something different. And I encourage you guys to ask them the same thing. All of you guys that watch those shows, I encourage you to tell them to do that. I encourage you to tell their audience to donate for mutual aid so we can really help people. This has to end somewhere. This strategy, it's not helping people. It's not helping people. That's right. Krystal and Kyle have zero sense of urgency. Exactly. Exactly. Definitely go to mutualaidhub.org so you can see mutual aid organizations in your area. I'll be on the ground Monday with Rome for Tour for the Poor in Boston. This Friday, I'll be at a climate action, anti-imperialist direct action event with Massachusetts Peace Action. So I'm going to try to live stream that if I can. So definitely push them to do these things, you guys. Push them to do. It's going to have to come from you guys because they won't listen to us. We're not of a certain class. We don't have certain titles that they want. That's how it works in this space, unfortunately. It's called access journalism for a reason. All right, guys. And I realize not everybody is an activist, not everybody is an organizer. But could you imagine the amount of people we would have had in the streets for those marches for Medicare for All if Krystal Ball would have even just mentioned it on Breaking Points? That's my point.